Stardew Valley can be a wonderful and relaxing adventure, but there are a lot of mistakes that beginners make when first starting out. So in today's video, I will be going over the 18 most common mistakes that beginners make inside Stardew Valley. But before this video starts, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, it would really help me out. At number 18, we got ignoring worms in the ground, which are basically artifact spots. As the player walks around, they'll come across these strange spots on the ground with worms wriggling in the center. When dug out with a hoe, these spots can contain valuable loot, such as lost books, artifacts, valuable crops, and even ore, among other things can be found in these spots. They have a very small chance of spawning every day. These items are incredibly useful for progression, and finding even one can make the early game way more easier. At number 17, we got wasting winter. Considering planting and harvesting crops typically takes place in the warmer periods, many players mistakenly assume winter is a waste, but it's not. Listen why. They end up wandering around aimlessly and not even taking advantage of this prime time. Winter is a great quarter for making plans, gathering resources, speaking with the locals, and other activities that are hard to pursue in the fall or spring. Winter is the season to strategize for the upcoming year, explore, be more social, go catch some fish, go mining, and even more. Another great idea is to upgrade the watering can, since you most likely won't need it during this season. And number 16, not understanding the save mechanics. This issue isn't one of willful self-sabotage, but more of a lack of knowledge about how the game's mechanic work. The game saves whenever the player character sleeps. It does not save when the player closes the game, and there are no autosave features or checkpoints. Many beginners are unaware of this initially, or forget in the early stages of the game. As a result, they may check out during the day and lose some of their progress. Admittedly, it isn't a major. At most, a player will lose a day's worth of work, but it can be frustrating, and losing that big catch from a lucky fishing trip is no fun. At number 15, we got avoiding garbage cans. When starting out, beginners' biggest obstacle is a lack of resources. Like, you really spawn on the farm with just a couple of tools, and that's pretty much it. So one activity that can be used early on to obtain helpful items is to dig through garbage cans. These have a chance to spawn a number of items. The most helpful include the cave carrot, field snack, and a largemouth bait. Of course, there's also the possibility to obtain useless items like trash or soggy newspaper, but guess what? These can be easily recycled later on in the game, so it's not really a big problem. This should never be done in front of any NPCs, as it harms the player's relationship with the character. The only exception to this is Linus, who will develop camaraderie with the player digging through trash. Number 14, we got wasting prismatic shards on gifting. Prismatic shards are valuable items that have a number of uses in the game. One of the least useful purposes for these items is to gift to fellow villagers to boost a relationship, as every villager except Haley loves them. However, prismatic shards have so much potential that they should never be wasted on friendship, especially given how rare they are. For instance, they can be used to get the galaxy sword, or buy magic rock candy, and even enchant tools in the forge. There are plenty of other gifts to give to the villagers that don't require wasting prismatic shards. That could be honey. Honey is really good for giving gifts to the villagers, as it's loved almost by everyone, so yeah. Honey's pretty good. At number 13, we got not planning ahead. With so much to do each day, it's common for players to get so distracted they forget to think ahead. It's important to remember that this game is built around the idea that little actions each day lead to greater results in the long run. Players should be doing things that feed into the larger plan. For example, wood should be gathered to build more storage chests to stockpile seeds that will be needed through winter. A player should never just be gathering wood because they don't know what else to do. Odds are there's something you can be doing to help make tomorrow easier. At number 12, we got cutting down all the grass. Hay is expensive to purchase from Marnie and annoying to have to grow. So instead of chopping it all down, let it spread around barns and coops, then leave the doors open. Animals will eat grass grown wild before they eat the hay you provide them, so it's wise to not completely clear it all the time. If it's raining or winter, animals will not come out to eat grass, but otherwise it's a great way to save. You can even place a fence post over some grass tiles to prevent animals from eating those bits, and more grass will spread from those uneatable tiles. Number 11, building silos way too late. Silos are cheap and easy to build, and they should absolutely be built before any animal buildings or the purchase of any actual animals. This is because the grass that is cut with site will basically a large percentage of the time produce hay that is automatically sent to the silo. It'll be stored here until the player retrieves it, or If they have an auto feeder, it will automatically fill the feed bench inside the barns and coops on the farm. It's wise to build a silo earlier rather than later, as all the grass that you cut down with a silo is sort of a waste. It's also great to build up some hay storage before winter comes. At number 10, we got putting off bundles. At first, bundles may seem like a minor thing, or perhaps even part of an achievement system. What most beginning players fail to realize is that bundles are used to unlock later content. Even worse is that many of the bundles are season specific. Many new players will ignore the fall bundles only to realize their importance in winter or spring and then need to wait. Players shouldn't break their backs trying to get these done, but dedicating a little bit of time every once in a while to check on the remaining items is definitely worth it. You can even check the bundles from your inventory screen, so you don't even have to walk all the way to the community center for a quick check. And number 9, we got ignoring NPCs. With all the farming, gathering and crafting that needs to be done, talking to the locals seems like a waste of time and effort. Unfortunately, it takes time to build relationships with those NPCs, and that requires having conversations over and over again. The locals in Pelican Town will give the player important recipes, send them gifts in the mail, and even much more. It's wise to begin having conversations with people when you see them, or else you'll be stuck grinding friendship points later when you realize you need a certain recipe from someone. And number 8, we got accidentally gifting trash. When venturing out to talk to NPCs, it's vital to remember that if you have something in your hand, basically visible by the farmer holding it over their head, you will give it to someone when you speak to them. It's incredibly easy to forget and accidentally give someone something they hate. Bait is a particularly easy thing to forget is in your hand since you pull it out to stock crab pots. Then when you accidentally hand it to an NPC, they find it understandably gross. Make sure to cycle off giftable items to a tool or an empty inventory space before talking to your villagers. And number 7, we got not watching TV. In a farming game like Stardew Valley, it's strange to think that watching TV would be an important part of the day, but it turns out the TV is a great source of information that beginners might take way too long to find about. The weather channel lets players know what's happening tomorrow, which can have a large impact on your day. The fortune teller lets players know what their daily luck is, which can significantly alter the odds of finding treasure, delving into the mine successfully, or catching rare fish, and even more. Living off the land is a running series of tips and tricks. Perhaps most important is the Queen of Sauce, who teaches players recipes that will be helpful when they build a kitchen and start cooking later. In fact, it's often the only source of these recipes, and reruns are a year away. Number 6, we got eating raw product. Almost every raw ingredient in Stardew Valley becomes much better if it's cooked into a meal. Rather than restoring a tiny bit of health and energy, they should be processed in a machine or cooked into a meal to restore more of those stats, as well as to sometimes offer powerful buffs. A simple example is an egg. When eaten, a standard egg will provide 25 energy and 11 health. However, cook it into a fried egg, it's the only ingredient, and those numbers double to 50 energy and 22 health. An example of an artisan good that should be created instead of eating the raw product is cheese. A standard jug of milk will restore 38 energy and 17 health. When processed in a cheese press, it'll turn into cheese, which restores 125 energy and 56 health. A final example with a buff included is Bean Hot Pot. It takes 2 green beans to make this dish, each of which provides 25 energy and 11 health as standard quality. However, Bean Hot Pot provides 125 energy and 56 health, as well as granting plus 30 max energy and plus 32 magnetism for 7 minutes. In the early game, before the kitchen is constructed or before the player can stockpile many machines, eating raw products is sometimes a necessity. However, this should be done sparingly, as it's much better to process them into something better first. And number 5, we got forgetting to feed animals. For absent-minded players, it's good news that animals will not die if the player forgets to feed them. The downside in those animals is that they will stop producing valuable resources the player can use. Adding to this is the fact that even if they start producing, the quality will be affected if they don't receive enough food. Forgetting to feed chickens every now and then may not seem like a big deal if they continue producing, but remember, leads to bigger eggs and better quality. And number 4, getting tunnel vision. It's very easy for players to get into a rut of repeating the same steps over and over again without any real progress. Beginners will often grind out making money without really understanding what they want to spend it on. Additionally, it's easy to focus on one product to sell without diversifying your portfolio. The other downside to this mistake is players learn how to do something and never realize there are better ways to doing it. It's easy to fish the same spot over and over again, not realizing better bait increases the odds of better fish, or that different locations contain different fish. And number 3 is putting off sleep. Like in real life, players need to ensure they're getting enough sleep in the game. If the player puts off sleep too long, they risk not getting quality sleep, which results in less energy for the next day. It's hard to balance the need to get everything done and get to bed early enough. However, it's important to maintain peak efficiency over the long haul. In many cases, it's often not worth finishing that one last project, and it's more wise to put it off until tomorrow. Taking the time to do that activity can result in not having enough energy to do everything tomorrow and starting a vicious cycle of having no sleep and no energy to do your favorite tasks. However, any time after midnight will result in a decreased amount of energy the next day. Every 10 minutes after midnight, you will see a decrease in 2.5% of your energy from its maximum threshold, with larger jumps of 12.5% at 1 AM and 2 AM. If the player goes to bed at 2 AM, they'll only have half of their energy the next day. And number 2, we got forgetting to be efficient. Players will often flip between activities, not realizing there are ways to be more efficient. Lump activities together. For example, if you're going down to town for supplies, you should visit a few NPCs and talk to them. And if you are going to get wood, you should consider planting tree seeds to replace those that you have cut down. It's kinda, is it making sense, guys? You feel me? There are also more efficient practices when it comes to using the limited space on the farm. And number 1, we got choosing efficiency over fun. However, while efficiency is important, perhaps the biggest and most common mistake players make with this game is forgetting that it's a game. The point is to have fun. Players can get so lost in the little weeds they get burnt out and get sick of the grind. It may not make the most sense to go to skull carving or go to the fair with other things to do, but sometimes taking the break to do something fun is important. People in real life need the occasional break, and doing activities in Stardew Valley is no different. In the end, there's no end to Stardew and no time limit or firm objective, so if you want to just waste a day or take things slow, that's great. It's all about balance. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully a few of you farmers are not going to make the same mistakes again on your farm. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it would really help me out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.